Shri Guru Shri Juta Padakamalang.
Hare Krishna, welcome back to our channel, or welcome for the first time if that is the case. Our channel, we call it Bhagavad-gita, here it is, because we have Bhagavad-gita as it is. And my name is Lavangalatika, and our Bhagavad-gita is translated and commented by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. And we are now in the 10th chapter, the opulence of the Absolute, where Krishna will give us, how to say, Arjuna is asking for his, for him to describe in detail the mystic power of his opulences. And in this way we will hear, and Krishna responds, yes, I will do that, but only the most prominent, because everything about him is unlimited. And there we get certain like anchors in this world. When we see them and remember them, we also remember Krishna. So yes, I will read through. I'm starting from text 21. Adityanamahang Vishnur Jyotis Sangravirang Suman Marichir Marutam Asmi Nakshatranam Mahang Shashi. Of the Adityas I am Vishnu, of light I am the radiant sun, of the Maruts I am Marichi, and among the stars I am the moon. Purport. There are 12 Adityas, of which Krishna is the principal. Among all the luminaries shining in the sky, the sun is the chief, and in the Brahma Samhita the sun is accepted as the glowing eye of the Supreme Lord. There are 50 varieties of wind blowing in space, and of these winds the controlling deity, Marichi, represents Krishna. Among the stars, the moon is the most prominent at night, and thus the moon represents Krishna. It appears from this verse that the moon is one of the stars. Therefore, the stars that twinkle in the sky also reflect the light of the sun. The theory that there are many suns within the universe is not accepted by Vedic literature. The sun is one, and as by the reflection of the sun the moon illuminates, so also do the stars. Since Bhagavad-gita indicates herein that the moon is one of the stars, the twinkling stars are not suns, but are similar to the moon. So when Krishna describes the universe, then sometimes it goes a little bit against what we have learned from the scientific worldview. And sometimes, how to say, it is not a contradiction, it is just expressed in different ways. And then sometimes we hear things that are slightly different. And then it happened some of the times that something comes up and a person has a hard time accepting it. And then I'm thinking, whatever I know about the universe, I have heard from someone else. Somebody else have been teaching me that, directly or indirectly. It's not that I have measured the light of the stars and the distance to the planets. This is something that comes from somebody else giving me that knowledge. So if Krishna is giving that knowledge, I assume he knows better, because we study by using our senses and our intelligence. We do some measurements and we do some extrapolations. Like that's how they sometimes find a planet. They realize how the other planets are moving and they think there must be something else there. And then they look, and I don't remember which planet, but they found a planet that way at one point in our solar system. But ultimately, everything in this world is actually created by Krishna. And and sometimes I know, because in our culture, I'm in Sweden, so in this like area, we have experience of religious people claiming some things that are a little bit absurd because they base it on their religion. But then you look at it and it's not exactly that God says in these religions, because I'm not exactly familiar with which school of thought, but it's some Christian denomination. They have made a calculation and come to the conclusion that the world is something like, I don't remember, 5,000 years old. And then you find different things in nature that indicates that actually it's a lot older. So we don't really find that God says the world is 5,000 years old. This is an extrapolation based on kind of the speed of the stories or something like that. But actually, who put the sun and the moon in the sky? We hear that Krishna did that. So we can draw our conclusions, and sometimes they will coincide and sometimes they will not. So then, if you're reading this and this is a topic that's important to you, we don't have to start an argument. You can put it to the side and you can read the other principles that do make sense, and you can practice them in your life. And then, gradually, when we get to know Krishna better, and we get to understand him better, and we get to, our faith in him grows, then maybe we will also understand the universe. In any case, when we look at the sun, we can see that of all the lights, then Krishna is there in the sun. And when we look at all the luminaries in the night, then we can see Krishna is the moon. And in this way we can remember Krishna. And yeah, I find that better than arguing. I will take one more verse, text 22. Vedantang samavedosmi devanam asmi vasavaha indriyanang manaschasmi bhutanam asmi chetana. Of the Vedas, I am the Samaveda. Of the demigods, I am Indra, the king of heaven. Of the senses, I am the mind. And in living beings, I am the living force, consciousness. Purport. The difference between matter and spirit is that matter has no consciousness like the living entity. Therefore, this consciousness is supreme and eternal. Consciousness cannot be produced by a combination of matter. So here we see, actually, that which is the greatest in any... I'm looking for words here. In any context, that which excels, that which stands out, that represents Krishna, directly or indirectly. So, since Prabhupada doesn't explain how the Samaveda is that aspect of the Vedas, I'm also not really... I don't really have any ground to stand on to explain that. But of the demigods I am Indra, because Indra is prominent. Indra is the king of the demigods. So that naturally, when we see Indra, then we think of Krishna. Of the senses I am the mind. So we have all these senses. We have the hearing and the seeing and the working senses. But all of them are controlled by the mind. The mind is like the... like if you have a taxi company, then all the cars are going here and there. But somebody's on the radio and saying, okay, we need someone over there, someone can go over there. So they're all connected in that way. So the mind takes in the informations of the senses and says, okay, we want to, eat something, this kind of thing now. We want to hear something, this kind of sound. Give us strawberries, give us pop music. And then the mind presents it to the soul, and the soul thinks, I am this body, let me satisfy this body. And then the commands go out through the mind again to the senses to grab for these different things. So therefore the mind is the central of the senses. And in living beings I am the living force, consciousness. Yes, because without consciousness there is no life. We cannot speak of life without consciousness. We see things that the level of consciousness is less, like we see plants. We don't see them writing angsty poetry in their teenage years. But they do have desires. They do have direction. We see how trees and flowers turn to the sun. We see how the roots seek out the water. So that consciousness is covered, so it's duller, but every living form has consciousness. And Krishna is represented in that consciousness. Text 23. Rudranang shankashashasmi vitesho yaksharakshasam vasunang pavakaschasmi merushikharinam aham. Of all the Rudras, I am Lord Shiva. Of the Yakshas and the Rakshasas, I am the Lord of Wealth, Kuvera. Of the Vasus, I am Fire, Agni. And of mountains, I am Meru. Purport. There are 11 Rudras, of whom Shankara, Lord Shiva, is predominant. He is the incarnation of the Supreme Lord, in charge of the mode of ignorance in the universe. The leader of the Yakshas and Rakshasas is Kuvera, the master treasurer of the demigods, and he is a representation of the Supreme Lord. Meru is a mountain famed for its rich natural resources. So, if we come from the Vedic culture, then we're familiar with all these groups, and if we don't, then maybe we're not, but then we're learning something more about Krishna. Text 24. Purodhasang chamukyang mang vidhipartha brihaspatim senani namahang skanda sarasam asmi sagaraha. Of priests, O Arjuna, know me to be the chief Brihaspati. Of generals I am Kartikeya, and of bodies of water I am the ocean. Purport. Indra is the chief demigod of the heavenly planets and is known as the king of the heavens. The planet on which he reigns is called Indraloka. Brihaspati is Indra's priest, and since Indra is the chief of all kings, Brihaspati is the chief of all priests. And as Indra is the chief of all kings, similarly Skanda or Kartikeya, the son of Parvati and Lord Shiva, is the chief of all military commanders. And of all bodies of water, the ocean is the greatest. These representations of Krishna only give hints of his greatness. Yes. So whatever is the greatest in a particular category, then it represents Krishna. And when we continue reading, maybe not so much in the Bhagavad-gita, but welcome to enter into Srimad Bhagavatam, we will meet these personalities. They appear in different chapters because they are prominent within the universe. And Krishna and all the incarnations, when they come, they are not limited just to come to these earthly planets, because Krishna himself appeared on this earth planet, and then sometimes the demigods would come and visit him because they are not as limited as we are. We can be on this planet, and sometimes we maybe try to shoot a rocket ship out, and maybe we'll hit something and maybe we won't, but we don't get very far, and we don't have continuous communications with the living entities on other planets. The demigods, they have their domain, but nothing stops them from coming here. So at this time, there's not so much for them here. But in previous times, previous cultures, when the population on the earth were more spiritually elevated, and they were also more involved in the Vedic traditions and the Vedic yagyas and sacrifices, and then sometimes the demigods would come and visit, because in the yagyas they are mostly done to please Vishnu or Krishna, but the demigods are also involved, and they would, it's like when you have when I have a birthday party for my children, then the prime minister won't come and visit me, but when they have these it's around this time, isn't it, when they have these Nobel festivities, they give out these Nobel prizes in these different subjects, and then they have a big party, and then the king is there and the prime minister is there because it's a special event. So in previous times, the kings or the emperors, they would put on these big yagyas, and the demigods would come and visit. Not every day, but it happened. And therefore, we have these stories and we have this connection, although it has been largely forgotten and we don't really see it so much anymore. But yes, continue with the Bhagavad-gita and continue on to the Bhagavatam, and we will definitely meet Indra and Kartikeya and Brihaspati in different narrations there. I will read text 25 also. Maharshinang Brigur Ahang Giram Asmekam Aksharam Yagyanang Tapayagyosmi Stavaranam Himalaya. Of the great sages I am Brigu. Of vibrations I am the transcendental Om. Of sacrifices I am the chanting of the holy names, Japa, and of immovable things I am the Himalayas. That's interesting, because Bhagavad-gita was spoken 5,000 years ago, which was on the verge between Dvapara Yuga and Kali Yuga. We are now in the Kali Yuga, and in our time, the most important method of worshipping Krishna, of performing sacrifice, of pleasing Krishna, is by chanting his holy names, especially in the form of the mantra Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. So this is not a new invention, even if it didn't have the same stress put on it until Lord Chaitanya, who is Krishna himself, appeared 500 years ago. I'm reading the purport. Brahma, the first living creature within this universe, created several sons for the propagation of various kinds of species. Among these sons, Bhrigu is the most powerful sage. Of all the transcendental vibrations, Omkara, represents Krishna. Of all and this Omkara is present in all the Vedic hymns, and sometimes the Vedic hymns seem to indicate more of an importance of worshipping the demigods. But there are no hymns, there are no sacrifices, there are no mantras that are not including the Omkara, which is a combination of 3 letters, A, U, and M, which are representing Krishna, his Shaktis, his internal energy, and the Jivas, us. So Om is everything, but in an impersonal sense. So we prefer to chant Hare Krishna because that's Krishna's name in a very personal sense. Of all the sacrifices, the chanting of Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, is the purest representation of Krishna. Sometimes animal sacrifices are recommended, but in the sacrifice of Hare Krishna, there is no question of violence. It is the simplest and the purest. Whatever is sublime in the worlds is a representation of Krishna. Therefore, the Himalayas, the greatest mountains in the world, also represent him. The mountain named Meru was mentioned in a previous verse, but Meru is sometimes movable, whereas the Himalayas are never movable. Thus, the Himalayas are greater than Meru. Yes, we hear this. So many stories. The Srimad Bhagavatam, it's like, it says we have, I looked this up, but it was some time ago, so I don't remember exactly how many verses exactly are in the Srimad Bhagavatam, but it includes 5 books, and some of these books, we have them in several parts because they are so large. And it is said that in the heavenly planets, the Srimad Bhagavatam is like 10 times bigger, because the topics of Krishna are actually unlimited. But that's our Bhagavatam, and there are so many stories where we hear about this, and then there are some stories from the Mahabharata, and there are stories that come in the tradition. So we hear about some of the mountains, they are able to move. And it's hard to understand. But at the same time, our planets, they're bigger than the mountains, and they are moving. So we don't know everything. But in one sense, we can remember anything great, and of our mountains on this planet, Himalaya is the biggest and the greatest. And so it represents Krishna. Yeah, I think we go here this time, and then next time we can continue to hear about the opulences of Krishna and the different places where we can connect our consciousness and remember Krishna over and over again. So we are reading about this aspects of this universe that remind us of Krishna. And I just wanted to say, since we are in the 10th chapter, there's obviously no guarantee that you who are listening to this right now have been with us from the beginning. So some of these stories may seem a little extraordinary and maybe, how to say, hard to relate to. So in that case, you're very welcome to go back. We started in the 2nd chapter where Krishna anchors the whole Bhagavad-gita in the main philosophical point of us not being this body but the soul within this body. Then we hear about how the Supreme Soul, Krishna, is also different than us, and how this human form of life is really meant for reconnecting with him. We hear about the yoga methods and so on. Now in this specific chapter, now we're hearing about the wonderful things in the universe and how they are representing Krishna. So this is wonderful because it's meant to be wonderful. And if this is a little bit, how to say, you're coming here, you want to hear Bhagavad-gita, you want to hear about self-realization, and then we're hearing about moving mountains and the kings of demigods, then please go back and start from the beginning. Then this will just be the chapter that is an inspiration to see Krishna from different angles and to remember him everywhere. But it's not where it starts. Thank you so much. Hare Krishna.
Thank you for watching. We aim for updates every Tuesday and Friday. Please come back. If you have any questions or comments, please leave them down there. We also have some links and information for you. And there is, of course, the subscribe button. Thank you. Hare Krishna.
I'm a Hare Krishna, and I approve this message. Subscribe.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama.